you want to have 0 points on your license. Even just a few points is going to be bad for you. I mean, for one, it's going to make companies, side-eye you a little bit, depending on what those infractions are, depending on, how many years ago that it happened. You may or may not get hired, or if you already have a job, you may or may not be keeping that job, once your employer finds out about that. What's up, guys? Iridite Trucker here. I'm back with another video. And today I wanted to talk about something that is extremely important for us as truck drivers. It's something that can definitely make or break your career if you do not take it seriously. And that is protecting your CDL. Now, for a lot of us, obtaining our CDLs can be life-changing. Obtaining your CDL can provide you with a whole lot of opportunities. You can travel the country, the monetary gain, the potential freedom if you decide to become an owner-operator, call the shots for yourself, and, taking care of your family. It's a lot to gain when you have your CDL if you are doing things correctly. Obtaining your CDL takes time, it takes effort, and you need to be protecting your investment and make sure that it will be available to you for as long as you want it for into the future, and helping you to make the life that you want to make for yourself and those that you are responsible for. And today I'm going to tell you some ways that you can make sure that that is always going to be the case for you. Let's get into it. Now, the first way of protecting your CDL, in my opinion, is one of the easiest because, for the most part, it is entirely within your control. And that is to simply not get any violations. Okay, so violation, especially moving violations, so speeding, improper lane change, being on your cell phone, stuff that you would get pulled over, DOT sees you, you're gonna get a ticket, or maybe even get a warning. Now, the thing with warnings, you don't want a warning either. And a lot of people will think that, they got a warning, they didn't have to pay a fine, it's no big deal. Whether it's a warning or an outright citation, that's still going to go on your MVR. And MVR is an acronym for motor vehicle record. And it's, for lack of a better description, it's basically like a criminal background check as far as your driving goes. What tickets have you received? Have you had any infractions with DOT or, the police in general, say if you're in your personal vehicle. It's something that companies will look at when they're determining whether or not they're going to hire you. They're not going to want to hire you in most cases if you apply to whatever company and they see you've got 5 speeding tickets, in the last year. You're not a good candidate. Or if you've got a DUI, you might as well not even apply for any trucking jobs if you've got a DUI on your record. These violations, they will put points on your license. And if I'm not mistaken, you can have 12 points on your license before your license gets suspended. And you want to have 0 points on your license. Even just a few points is going to be bad for you. I mean, for one, it's going to make companies, side-eye you a little bit, depending on what those infractions are, depending on, how many years ago that it happened. You may or may not get hired, or if you already have a job, you may or may not be keeping that job, once your employer finds out about that. And also, getting points on your license is going to have a cumulative negative effect for you, because when you get the points on your license, once you report that citation to your employer, or if you're an owner operator, when your insurance company finds out about that, your insurance premiums are gonna go up. And like I said, depending on what the infractions are, how many of them you have, you may not be able to retain coverage, from that specific insurance company, because you're proving yourself to be a risk. And insurance companies do not want to pay out a whole bunch of money because you're an unsafe driver. employers do not want to retain you on their fleet if you are an unsafe driver, because they are going to be concerned that you're going to cause an accident or do something that's going to end up costing the company money, you know. So you definitely want to avoid that. Now, when it comes to getting points on your license, let me just give you a scenario. Say you are speeding on the highway, you're on your cell phone. Now, also, you cause an accident because you're not paying attention. You're tip-tap typing on your phone. And like I said, you just caused an accident. So a breakdown of what would be in store for you here: you're likely going to have a reckless driving, a distracted driving, speeding, the damage to the vehicle, and whatever personal injury you've caused to the other drivers. There's going to be a whole lot of stuff that you're going to be tangled up in. I mean, there's probably more than that, but I mean, so the company that you're with is going to have to pay the insurance, you know, to repair the vehicles that are damaged, and, you know, whatever hospital bills, and you're probably going to get sued, and you're at fault because you were on your phone. I mean, so you've got points wrapped up on your license for all of those things, in addition to the legal ramifications that are going to be coming behind all of that. But all of that is preventable because you, as the driver, you can control whether or not you're messing around on your phone. Your eyes work. They should, because you've been tested at the DMV to make sure that your vision is clear. So you should be able to see what the speed limit is on the road that you're driving on. So you should not be speeding. So you should be able to not be in a scenario like that where you are gonna, you know, get your license obliterated by your own negligence. You know, avoid that at all costs. Like I said, it's super easy to protect yourself in that way because you have the control of whether or not you are doing those things. And you know, of course, accidents can be caused where you're not at fault, but I'm talking about things here where you are controlling yourself and doing what you need to do to protect yourself. You're not setting yourself up for failure, doing things that you know you should not be doing behind the wheel. And another reason why you do not want to have any violations on your license is because the violations don't just count against you. So if you are a driver for another company, you're an employee, or even if you are an owner-operator with your own authority, so you have your own motor carrier status, if you have violations, they will go against the CSA score of the company. Now, CSA stands for Compliance, Safety, Accountability. And it's basically a ranking system or a grading system used by the FMCSA, and that's another acronym. So it's the Federal Motor Carriers Safety Administration. So it's a grading system that they use just to deem whether or not, you know, the particular motor carrier is operating safely out there on the roads, you know, just to basically keep the roads as safe as possible. I mean, safety's all up in that. So if your score, if you have too many violations, your score is going to be lower. And just like with your personal vehicle, if you have too many points, too many violations, your insurance premiums are going to go up. And companies are in the business because they want to be profitable. So they're not going to like that. You know, you could lose, like I said, you could lose your job potentially, or the company could lose accounts, because when the sales teams go out and they're trying to market the company to potential clients, you can't go up to them with, you know, a bad CSA score and tell your potential customer how unsafe your company potentially is. So it doesn't look good. And also, the DOT will more likely than not, if your status on your CSS score is bad enough, the DOT will make it a point to pull drivers from the specific company in for inspection more frequently. So you could see your guys, you know, getting more level 1, level 2, level 3 inspections when you go through the DOT scales. And you don't want that. That wastes your time. And, you know, it's a hassle. And, you know, if your truck or your paperwork or anything is not up to snuff, I mean, you're going to get a fine for that. So, like I said, that stuff doesn't just affect you. You know, if you're an employee, you know, you getting your violations and reducing the company's CSA score or making it worse, you know, you're affecting yourself, you're affecting all the other drivers in the fleet, you're affecting the people that are working in the office on the administrative side, because we're all a whole, we're all cogs in the machine of the business. So you want to not degrade that if you can avoid it, which you can in most of these scenarios. So let's move on to the next thing. The next thing to keep in mind when working to protect your CDL, this next tip is going to be more geared towards the newer drivers. You know, if you've just recently acquired your CDL, you need to keep in mind that your CDL is your only license. So you don't utilize your CDL when you're over the road or you're working, and then when you go back home, you switch back to, you know, your regular driver's license. You know, when you're driving your car to travel around town, you only have the one license. You don't have the regular passenger vehicle driver's license anymore. It's just one. So any violations like speeding tickets, running red lights, anything like that that you would get a traffic ticket for, that is going to go on your MVR, and your employer will be able to see that. You know, you may suffer some negative consequences for that, you know, depending on what it is. I heard about guys that, well, one guy specifically, he was at home and he got a speeding ticket for 100 miles an hour. I don't know where he was going, what road he was on to drive that fast. I'm pretty sure there aren't any traveling roads in America where you can legally drive that fast, even close to that. The highest speed limit I've seen is like 80 miles an hour, and that was when I was out west. I'm pretty sure he lost his job for that, because I mean, that's like an egregious speeding violation. So don't do foolish things like that, you know, where you are going to be your own worst enemy. Like I've said previously, you know, a lot of these ways that you can damage your standing with your CDL, a lot of the times it's self-inflicted. So don't do things like that. Keep in mind, you only have one CDL. Everything that you do goes against that. All right, the next piece of advice that I have for you is, if you are going to operate any vehicle, whether that's a commercial vehicle or your personal vehicle for driving around at home, make sure you stay away from alcohol at all costs. Now, you guys may think, of course, that's obvious, don't drink and drive. Yes, but there is also a couple of caveats to that. As you likely know, as a commercial driver's license holder, you're held to a higher standard when it comes to conducting yourself on the road behind a motor vehicle. Now, that goes for both a commercial vehicle and the personal passenger vehicles, anything like that. For one, if you have had any alcohol, you need to make sure that you're waiting a minimum of 4 hours before you get behind the wheel of a commercial motor vehicle. Keep in mind that the legal limit, or I guess the legal threshold for being considered intoxicated is BAC, blood alcohol content, of 0.08. Now, that's for the regular drivers. If you have a CDL in a lot of states, I don't quite know for sure if it's like nationwide, but I do know there's a lot of states that have this regulation. Now, the blood alcohol content maximum is 0.04, okay? So that's half of what all the other standard drivers have. So that's basically enough for one drink. One drink could have you classified as being intoxicated if you have a CDL. That goes for whether you're driving a semi-truck or you're driving your car at home. You have the CDL, so the threshold for you as the driver is the same. If you're planning on going out and partying, you know, you're gonna have some drinks or have a good time with your friends or whatever, do not drive. Have somebody else be the designated driver. Don't get behind the wheel whatsoever. Even if you feel completely fine, you know that you're not intoxicated. Say you have a higher tolerance, your body can metabolize alcohol and you don't get drunk off of like a single drink, doesn't matter. You know, whatever your blood alcohol concentration is. And I think I might have messed it up when I said before. I think I might have said blood alcohol content. It's blood alcohol concentration. So whatever yours is, if it meets that 0.04 mark, like if you have to take a breathalyzer, you just earned yourself a DUI. And a DUI is very, very bad. It's like one of the worst things that you can get as a driver. You could probably kiss your job goodbye if that happens to you. So make sure you're staying away from that, being very mindful, and don't give it even a chance. Now, that goes for like whether you're driving the truck, like I said, or you're at home. So you can be off duty, you can be on vacation, you know, states away from where you live. But if that happens and you blow a .04, it's curtains, guys. Next thing would be to make sure that whatever vehicle you are operating is up to code. So whether you're an owner-operator or you're a company driver, you know, the piece of equipment that you're driving down the road needs to meet the DOT standards. So if you got lights out on your truck or on your trailer, you know, get the light bulbs replaced. You know, if anything that's basically out of order, you know, just make sure that it's up to code. Let your company know if you're a company driver so they can get you somewhere to get that stuff fixed. You know, owner operator, you know, get that handled. That way, if you get pulled into a DOT weigh station and they want to run any kind of inspection on you, level 1, level 2, level 3, whatever, they're not going to find anything. You know, that way they won't be able to charge you with any kind of violations, and you got to go pay for whatever to get it fixed or get put out of service. So that's what the pre-trip is for, to find that stuff as early as you possibly can. So make sure you're doing your pre-trips, make sure that you're checking everything, making sure that everything's working order, you know, do it. I know you may not always want to do it as thoroughly as you did it during your DOT testing, you know, when you had to go through everything and let the examiner know that you knew what you were talking about. But, you know, look over it. And, you know, anything that's standing out, don't just let it linger. Get it handled. That way you don't have to worry about anything when they pull you through the scales. The next tip would be to drive as if you're being watched. You know, some of us very well may be. You know, some of you guys out there may have a driver-facing camera in your truck looking right at you. You know, some of us don't. People tend to perform better when they think somebody is observing them. What I try to do is to keep myself in the mindset that I had when I was taking my DOT road test and I had that DOT examiner sitting in my passenger seat right next to me. How you want to make sure that you are doing everything perfectly, observing all of the road signs, the speed limit, looking like a block or two ahead on the road so you can see what's coming at you or what you're coming at, being ready for stale green lights, looking out for railroad crossings, school buses, looking out when they put their stop sign out. You don't want to hit anybody. So just assume that somebody is always watching you, like there's a DOT officer hiding in the median right behind that, you know, that hill that you can't see past. You know, imagine that, you know, your safety department is looking at you through your driver facing camera and they know what you're doing, just to keep yourself honest and accountable. Because I know doing this job over time, people tend to get complacent, especially if they haven't had any negative experiences, and like, you know, it just becomes like, you know, another day in the life. And, you know, sometimes people can get lax, and when you get lax, you know, you let things slip by that ordinarily you wouldn't, because you just get so comfortable. And that's when things can happen, negative things can happen. So just try to keep yourself in the mindset where, like, okay, somebody can see what I'm doing, because somebody is seeing what you're doing. You're seeing what you're doing, and you know whether or not what you're doing is right or wrong, whether it's safe or not. So just keep yourself on the straight and narrow, because you have a lot riding on the line, you know. Okay, guys, I've gone through a lot, and overall, the best way to protect your CDL, you know, I'll round it out by saying, you know, just stick to the fundamentals of driving. Like, keep that in your mind. So touched on it a little bit already, you know, so watch out for stale green lights. Don't speed. I mean, speeding is probably one of the most common ways that drivers pick up violations. You know, stay off of the electronic devices, whether that's your cell phone, your GPS, or even your ELD. You know, don't be out there, you know, tip-tapping on it while you're driving your truck down the road. The DOT will get you for that, you know, distracted driving, interacting with an electronic device. I mean, heck, I even have heard of one guy said that he got hit with distracted driving because he was eating a banana while he was driving down the road. So the best thing for you to do is, you know, always have your eyes facing forward out of the windshield, and have your two hands on your steering wheel, or one hand on the shifter if you're rocking with the manual truck still. That way you'll keep yourself out of trouble, and, you know, make sure that you're always reading the road signs, you know. And especially when you're going through those DOT scales, keep in mind that they take pictures of you. You know, sometimes there'll be cameras set up before you get to the weigh station, maybe like a mile or so away from the weigh station. It takes a picture of the inside of the truck directly in front of you and to the side as you drive by. And, you know, some states as well are setting up those mobile cameras where they can do the same thing. And then You know, they catch you on your cell phone while you're driving down the road. You know, they have a highway patrolman waiting farther down that's gonna light you up as soon as you drive by, because he already has the image that he's got on his computer of you doing this while you're driving. So stick to the fundamentals. Watch out for the red lights or the green lights. Don't go trying to run and gun it straight through it if that light's turning yellow. Time the lights properly. Be ready, and if you don't think you're going to make it, you're always going to be better off slowing down and stopping versus trying to run and gun it. And you know, there's a policeman waiting around the corner that just saw you run through that light. You know, and that's the mild reaction. I mean, or the mild, what's the word I'm looking for? The mild consequence. You know, imagine trying to fly through that light and you don't time it right, and it turns red, and there's somebody else coming through that intersection, and you T-bone them on top of speeding through that light. That's going to be a very, very bad situation, guys. Like I said, stick to the fundamentals, be safe, and you're always better off taking your time, getting wherever you're planning on getting a little bit later, letting your fleet manager know, hey, I got held up for XYZ reason, and let them talk to the customer, let them know that you're going to be delayed, and get there when you get there safely. And also, another thing, make sure that you're getting enough sleep, because you don't want to be out there on the road bobbing and weaving, you know, because you're drifting off while you're driving. I'm pretty sure that'll be you know, driving while impaired, you know, if the DOT officers pick you up for that, or at least that's something you could be possibly cited for. I'll conclude everything by saying, you know, just to keep in mind when you're moving out there on the road, ask yourself, is this decision that I'm making or this action that I'm about to take worth me risking my CDL for? If the answer is no, then simply just don't do it. You know, it's that easy. You know, you can protect yourself in that way. It's super easy. It doesn't take any effort. You know, just the decision to move in the right way to protect yourself. So with that being said, guys, I hope this video helps, and make sure that you guys are doing what you need to do to keep those CDLs that you worked hard to get, to earn the lifestyle that you are providing yourself, you know, out here on the road. I appreciate you guys all watching. I'll see you all further down the road. Here at Trucker out. Keep those CDLs.